The storm's mercy thunder rolled across the sky at drums of war as Derek Mitchell gripped the steering wheel tighter, his old pickup truck fighting against sheets of rain that turned the highway into a river. His tool belt rattled in the passenger seat, reminder of another 16-hour workday that barely covered next week's groceries. The digital clock blinked 11:47 p.m., and his daughter Emma would be asleep by now. Safe with Mrs. Henderson next door, he squinted through the windshield. Wipers working overtime, but losing the battle. The construction site had needed emergency repairs, and Derek never said no to overtime. Not when rent was due, not when Emma needed new shoes, not when being a single father meant every dollar counted twice. That's when he saw it. Twisted Metal and Flame's luxury sedan was wrapped around an oak tree like tin foil, smoke billowing from beneath the crumpled hood. Headlights flickered weakly, casting ghostly shadows across the flooded road. Derek's instincts kicked in before his brain could question the decision. He swerved his truck to the shoulder, grabbed his flashlight, and bolted into the storm. Rain hammered his face as he approached the wreckage. The windshield was spider-webbed with cracks, and inside he could see her, a woman in a black business suit, head tilted against the deployed airbag, blood trickling from a cut above her eyebrow. Her eyes fluttered open as his flashlight beam found her face. "Help," she whispered, voice barely audible over the storm. "Please help me." Derek tried the door, jammed. The smell of gasoline hit his nostrils, sharp and dangerous. He didn't hesitate. Using a rock from the roadside, he smashed the window, ignoring the glass that bit into his forearm. The woman was trapped by her seatbelt, the mechanism crushed by the impact. "Hold still," Derek commanded, pulling his utility knife from his belt. He sawed through the thick fabric as the engine began to smoke more heavily. The woman tried to move, but gasped in pain. "My leg. I think something's broken. We don't have time to be careful." Derek cut the last strand of seatbelt and pulled her free, just as orange flames erupted from under the hood. He half carried, half dragged her away from the vehicle. 20 seconds later, the gas tank exploded, sending a fireball into the night sky. They collapsed together on the wet grass, both gasping for air. The woman was shaking violently, whether from shock, cold, or fear. Derek couldn't tell. Probably all three. Unexpected sanctuary hospitals 15 miles east, but the storms flooded the main roads, Derek said, checking her pupils with his flashlight. "I live 4 minutes from here. You need to get warm, and I need to see how bad that leg is." She nodded weakly, unable to speak. Derek helped her into his truck, and she passed out before they reached his street. His house was small, weathered, but clean. Inside, Derek carried the unconscious woman to his bedroom, the only real bedroom in the place. He laid her on his bed, covered her with every blanket he owned, and checked her breathing. Steady. That was good. Her suit was soaked, expensive fabric ruined by rain and blood. Derek hesitated, then found his favorite white dress shirt hanging on the chair. He carefully removed her jacket, trying to be respectful, replacing it with his dry shirt. Her expensive watch caught the lamplight. Platinum, maybe diamonds. This woman had money, serious money. He grabbed a pillow and headed to the couch. It would be his bed tonight. Morning surprise as Derek woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of movement in his kitchen. For a confused moment, he thought he was dreaming. Then reality crashed back. The woman. He sat up quickly, muscles protesting from sleeping on the lumpy couch, and turned toward the kitchen. His breath caught in his throat. She stood at his counter, hair loose and slightly messy, wearing his white dress shirt that fell to her mid-thigh. She was pouring coffee into his chipped mug like she belonged there, moving with careful grace despite her injured leg. When she turned and saw him staring, she smiled, confident, mysterious, and completely disarming. "Good morning," she said, her voice smooth and controlled. "You really don't remember giving me this shirt, do you?" Derek stood up, suddenly very aware he was wearing the same clothes from last night, wrinkled and stained. Wait, who are you?" She set the coffee mug down slowly, her dark eyes studying him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "The woman whose life you saved, and the woman whose company owns this house." Derek froze completely. What? Before she could answer, small footsteps padded down the hallway. Emma appeared, clutching her stuffed rabbit, eyes wide as she took in the stranger, wearing her father's shirt. Daddy. Emma's voice was tiny, uncertain. Who is the pretty lady? The woman's expression softened instantly. She knelt down despite her injury, getting to Emma's eye level. Just someone your father helped last night. Your daddy is a hero. Emma beamed with pride and ran to hug Derek's leg. I told you he was the best daddy ever. Collision of worlds. Woman stood back up, wincing slightly. Derek noticed how she favored her left leg, how her hands trembled just slightly despite her composed exterior. She pulled out her purse from the counter, designer leather, probably cost more than his truck, and extracted a wallet. She placed a thick stack of bills on his kitchen table. Hundreds. Derek counted quickly. At least $3,000. This should cover last night, she said matter-of-factly. The bed, the clothes, the medical assistance. Consider it compensation for your trouble. Something inside Derek snapped. He stared at the money, then at her, anger building in his chest. This woman, whoever she was, thought she could reduce his act of basic human decency to a transaction. She thought everything had a price. Take it back, Derek said quietly, voice tight with controlled fury. Excuse me, I said take it back. He grabbed the money and shoved it toward her. I didn't pull you out of that car for money. I didn't bring you to my home for payment. I did it because you needed help. And that's what decent people do. Her perfect composure cracked just slightly. I was trying to be grateful. Most people would appreciate. I'm not most people. Derek's jaw clenched. And gratitude isn't measured in dollar bills. You want to thank me. Just say thank you and mean it. Don't try to buy your way out of feeling indebted. The silence that followed was deafening. Emma clutched her rabbit tighter, sensing the tension. The woman stared at Derek like he was speaking a foreign language, her expression cycling between shock, confusion, and something else. Respect, maybe. Finally, she spoke, her voice softer now. You're right. I apologize. That was inappropriate. She carefully folded the money and put it away. I'm not used to people who can't be bought. Get used to it, Derek replied. In this house, character matters more than cash. She studied him for a long moment, something shifting behind her eyes. What's your name? Derek Mitchell. Derek Mitchell, she repeated slowly, as if committing it to memory. I'm Natasha Sterling, and I promise you, Mr. Mitchell, I won't forget what you did, or what you just taught me. She walked toward the door, limping slightly, her borrowed shirt swaying. At the threshold, she turned back one final time. The shirt looks better on you anyway, Derek found himself saying, surprising himself. Natasha's lips curved into a genuine smile for the first time. Maybe I'll keep it then. Consider it payment for the lesson in humility. Then she was gone, leaving Derek standing in his kitchen with more questions than answers and the lingering scent of expensive perfume mixing with cheap coffee. Emma tugged his hand. Daddy, was that lady nice or mean? Derek picked up his daughter, holding her close. I think, sweetheart, she's just someone who forgot what kindness looks like. But maybe we reminded her. Outside, thunder rumbled again, but the storm had passed. The unexpected return. 3 days crawled by like wounded animals. Derek threw himself into work, fixing broken water heaters and rewiring old houses, trying to forget the mysterious woman who had disrupted his carefully ordered life. Emma asked about her twice at breakfast, 3 times at dinner, and Derek deflected each time with practiced patience. She went back to her life. Sweetheart, people like her don't come to neighborhoods like ours. But Emma, wise beyond her 8 years, just smiled knowingly and returned to her coloring books. Thursday afternoon found Derek at Riverside Elementary, replacing corroded pipes in the staff bathroom. His hands were black with grease, his shirt soaked through with sweat, and his mind was blissfully empty of everything except the rhythmic work of tightening bolts and sealing joints. This was his meditation, his escape from single-father worries and empty bank accounts. Then he heard it, the unmistakable purr of an expensive engine. so smooth it sounded like silk sliding across marble. Derek's wrench slipped, clanging against metal. He wiped his hands on his jeans and stepped outside. Squinting against the afternoon sun dot, when power meets principle, black sedan gleamed like a predator in the school parking lot, its chrome details catching light like diamonds. Parents stopped mid-conversation. Teachers paused on the steps. Even the playground fell silent as children sensed something important happening. The driver's door opened and Natasha Sterling emerged, transformed from the vulnerable woman in his shirt to what she truly was, a force of nature, wrapped in a tailored white business suit. Her heels clicked against pavement with military precision. Designer sunglasses hid her eyes, but Derek felt her gaze lock onto him from 30 feet away. She walked toward him with purpose, and the crowd parted instinctively. Power radiated from her like heat from asphalt on a summer day. "Mr. Mitchell," she said, removing her sunglasses. Her eyes were intense, focused, apologetic. "We need to talk," Derek sighed, suddenly very aware of his filthy clothes and grease-stained hands. "If this is about the money again." "It's not." She pulled out her phone, turned the screen toward him. "It's about the truth." The video was grainy, time-stamped from 3 nights ago. Security footage from a traffic camera showed Derek's truck pulling over, showed him running through the rain, showed him smashing the window and carrying Natasha from the burning vehicle. His face was clear, determined, heroic in its simplicity. "You saved my life, Derek, and I didn't even know your last name until yesterday." Derek looked away from the phone, uncomfortable with seeing himself as others might see him. "You thanked me. You apologized. We're square, are we?" Natasha's voice dropped lower, more intimate despite the crowd gathering around them. "Because I've spent 3 days trying to understand why you threw my money back at me. Why you treated wealth like an insult instead of a gift. Because it wasn't a gift. It was a dismissal." Derek met her eyes directly. "You wanted to pay me so you could stop feeling uncomfortable about needing help." Someone in the crowd gasped. "You didn't talk to people like Natasha Sterling that way." But Derek wasn't most people, and they both knew it. Natasha's expression shifted, vulnerability breaking through her corporate armor. "You're right, but I came here to do something different." She gestured toward the playground where Emma was watching from the swings, her little face pressed against the chain links. "Your daughter, Emma, right?" Derek's protective instincts flared. "What about her?" "She's lucky to have you. A father who teaches by example, who shows her that integrity isn't negotiable." Natasha pulled an envelope from her designer bag, held it between them like a peace offering. "I grew up in foster care, Derek, 7 different homes before I aged out at 18. I built my company from nothing because I had to, because survival demanded it." The weight of success, the confession hung in the air between them, reshaping everything Derek thought he knew about this woman. Suddenly her expensive clothes looked less like armor and more like camouflage, hiding scars that money couldn't heal. "The crash," Natasha continued, her voice barely above a whisper, "was the first time in 15 years I felt truly helpless. And you, this stranger covered in rain and determination, you just acted. No calculations, no considerations of cost or benefit. You just helped." She opened the envelope, revealed legal documents. Derek recognized the letterhead, immediately his landlord's property management company. His stomach tightened. "What is this?" "I bought your building yesterday, paid cash, closed the deal in 4 hours. She pulled out another document, placed it in his grease-stained hands. "And as of this morning, your lease is terminated. The house is yours, Derek, free and clear. No mortgage, no rent, no strings." The world tilted sideways. Derek stared at the deed transfer, his name printed in official font, witnessed and notarized. His house, the place where Emma took her first steps, where they had pizza Fridays and movie nights on the floor because the couch was too small. His, "I can't accept this," Derek said, but his voice cracked slightly. "This is too much, is it?" Natasha stepped closer, close enough that he could smell her perfume, expensive and subtle. "You gave me my life back. I'm giving you security, Fair trade in my book. Life isn't a balance sheet. Derek tried to hand back the documents, but Natasha refused to take them. No, it's not. But sometimes those of us who have much need to remember what it's like to have nothing, and sometimes those who have little need to accept that they deserve more. She pulled out a third document, this one embossed with a corporate seal. The Sterling Foundation is launching a new initiative, the Mitchell Fund. Derek's eyes widened. You named a fund after me. Building bridges after what you represent. Single parents working themselves to exhaustion, doing everything right, and still struggling. I want to help them the way I wish someone had helped my foster parents. The way you helped me without expecting anything in return. Natasha's eyes glistened slightly. I'm asking you to be the face of this initiative, to help me identify families who need support, to guide the program so it actually helps people instead of just making me feel better about my wealth. A teacher Derek knew approached hesitantly. Excuse me, Miss Sterling, I just want to say, what you're doing is incredible. More people edged closer, phones out, recording everything. Derek felt trapped, exposed, but Natasha seemed to expand in the attention, feeding off it like oxygen. If I do this, Derek said slowly, we do it my way. No cameras unless necessary. No using struggling families as photo opportunities. Real help for real people, or I walk. Natasha extended her hand, and when Derek shook it, her grip was firm, equal, respectful. Deal, you keep me honest. I provide resources. Partners, Derek agreed, though the word felt strange in his mouth. Emma ran over, breathless and excited, her backpack bouncing. Daddy, is the pretty CEO lady here to help you? Natasha knelt down, wincing slightly at her still healing leg. Actually, I'm here to ask your daddy to help me. Is that okay with you? Emma studied Natasha with the brutal honesty only children possess. Only if you're nice to him. He works really hard and sometimes cries when he thinks I'm sleeping because money is tight. Derek's face flushed red. Emma, it's okay. Daddy, Miss Sterling should know you're the best daddy in the whole world and nobody should make you sad. Natasha's professional mask cracked completely. She blinked rapidly, tears threatening. You're right, Emma. Nobody should make him sad. I promise I'll try my very best to help instead. Emma threw her arms around Natasha spontaneously, and Derek watched something remarkable happen. This powerful CEO, this woman who commanded boardrooms and negotiated million-dollar deals, melted into the embrace of his 8-year-old daughter. Her hands trembled as she hugged Emma back, as if she'd forgotten how affection felt. When Emma released her and ran back to the playground, Natasha stood slowly, composing herself with visible effort. She's remarkable, Natasha said, her voice thick with emotion. She's my reason for everything. Then let's make sure her father doesn't have to cry alone in the dark anymore. Natasha pulled a business card from her pocket, pressed it into Derek's palm. This is my private number. Call me when you're ready to start. Or if you just need to talk. Or if Emma needs anything. Or, she stopped herself, laughed nervously. I'm not good at this. The personal stuff. Derek looked at the card. Heavy stock paper with raised lettering. Real, substantial, like the woman who gave it to him. Why are you really doing this, Natasha? She met his eyes. And in that moment all pretense vanished. Because in that storm, when I was trapped and terrified and certain I was going to die, you appeared like something out of a story. You didn't see a CEO or a bank account. You just saw someone who needed help. And for the first time since I was 18 years old, I felt like maybe the world had good people in it after all. The world has plenty of good people. You just have to look in the right places. Apparently, I'd been looking in the wrong places. She slipped her sunglasses back on, armor reassembling. I'll be in touch, Derek Mitchell. Thank you for reminding me why I started my company in the first place. Why is that? Natasha smiled, genuine and vulnerable. To help people like the ones who helped me when I had nothing but determination and dreams. She walked back to her car, and Derek noticed she didn't limp anymore. Maybe the injury was healing. Maybe having purpose straightened her spine. Seeds of change that evening. Derek sat at his kitchen table with the property deed spread before him, a treasure map. Emma colored beside him, humming softly, occasionally asking questions about colors and princesses. "Daddy, do you like Miss Sterling?" Derek looked up, surprised. "She seems like a good person under all the fancy clothes." "She looks at you funny." "Funny how?" Emma scrunched her nose, thinking hard. "Like how I look at ice cream. Like she wants some but doesn't know if she's allowed." Derek laughed despite himself, ruffled Emma's hair. "You're too observant for your own good, kiddo. Mommy used to say that." Emma's voice went quiet. Derek's chest tightened. Emma's mother had left when Emma was 2. Unable to handle the responsibilities of parenthood, chasing dreams that didn't include a husband and daughter. The divorce papers arrived by mail, along with full custody release. Derek never spoke ill of her, never let Emma feel abandoned, but the wound was there, hidden beneath years of just the 2 of them against the world. "Your mom was right about that," Derek said softly. "She was right about a lot of things. Do you think Miss Sterling could be my friend?" "I think Miss Sterling could be anyone's friend if they give her a chance." Emma nodded sagely and returned to her coloring. Derek watched her. This perfect little human he'd somehow been trusted to raise, and felt the weight of Natasha's gift settle around his shoulders. Security, stability, a future without the constant fear of eviction or choosing between electricity and groceries. He pulled out Natasha's business card, ran his thumb over the embossed letters. Tomorrow he would call. Tomorrow he would step into a world he didn't understand, partnering with a woman who represented everything he taught himself to be suspicious of. But tonight, he would sit with his daughter and color pictures of princesses and dragons, secure in the knowledge that their home was truly theirs outside. The sun set in brilliant oranges and purples, painting the sky like a promise that tomorrow might be better than today. 6 months transformed Derek's life in ways he couldn't have imagined. That rainy night, the Mitchell Fund launched with national media coverage, helping 300 single-parent families in the first quarter alone. Derek worked alongside Natasha 3 days a week, visiting families, assessing needs, ensuring the money went where it mattered most. But something else was growing, something neither of them planned for. It started small, coffee meetings that ran long, phone calls about logistics that drifted into personal stories. Natasha started wearing less makeup around him, showing up in jeans sometimes, laughing at his terrible handyman jokes. Derek caught himself thinking about her during odd moments, wondering what she'd think about Emma's latest school project, or whether she'd tried that Thai restaurant he'd recommended. Emma noticed first, because of course she did. "Daddy's in love with Miss Sterling," she announced one morning over pancakes, matter of fact as discussing the weather. Derek nearly choked on his coffee. "What? No, we're just colleagues. Colleagues who look at each other like they're the only people in the room." Emma took another bite of pancake, completely unbothered by her father's crisis. "It's okay, Daddy. She's pretty and smart, and she makes you smile the real way." "What's the real way?" "When your eyes smile too, not just your mouth." Derek had no response to that. His 8-year-old daughter had become a relationship expert while he wasn't paying attention. The Gallade Sterling Foundation's annual gala was held downtown in a converted warehouse transformed into something magical. Chandeliers hung from exposed beams, string lights wrapped around steel pillars, and the city's elite mingled in evening gowns and tuxedos that cost more than Derek's old truck. Derek stood in the corner, wearing a borrowed suit that fit reasonably well, nursing a glass of sparkling water, watching Natasha work the room. She wore a midnight blue dress that somehow made her look both powerful and vulnerable, her hair swept up elegantly, diamonds at her throat catching the light. She was magnificent and completely out of his league. "Stop staring and go talk to her," Emma whispered. She wore a pink dress, her hair in braids with ribbons, looking like a miniature princess. Natasha had insisted on bringing her, had even sent a dress and shoes that fit perfectly because somehow she'd remembered Emma's exact size. "I'm not staring," Derek protested weakly. "You're totally staring." And she keeps looking over here when she thinks you're not watching." Before Derek could respond, Natasha excused herself from a conversation with a city councilman and walked directly toward them. The crowd parted instinctively, recognizing the shift in her attention. "Derek, you look miserable," she said, but her eyes were warm, teasing. "Fancy parties aren't your thing, are they?" "I'd rather be fixing a broken furnace in a crawl space," he admitted. She laughed, genuine and unguarded. "Well, suffer through for 30 more minutes. Then I have something to show you." She turned to Emma. "You look absolutely beautiful, sweetheart. That dress is perfect on you." Emma beamed. "You picked it. Thank you for letting me come. This party wouldn't be complete without my favorite 8-year-old. Natasha glanced at Derek, and something passed between them, electric and unspoken. "Both of my favorite people, actually." The rooftop. 37 minutes later, Natasha led Derek and Emma through a side door, up a service elevator, and onto the building's rooftop. The city sprawled below them, lights twinkling like earthbound stars, the distant sound of traffic creating urban music. "I come up here when the networking gets overwhelming," Natasha admitted, leaning against the railing. "When I need to remember why I do all this." Emma ran to the far corner, enchanted by the view. Derek moved beside Natasha, careful to maintain respectful distance, despite wanting to be closer. "You've built something incredible," Derek said quietly. "The fund has helped so many people." "We've built something incredible," Natasha corrected. "I just provide money. You provide the heart that makes it matter." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city breathe beneath them. Then Natasha reached into her small evening bag and pulled out something Derek hadn't seen in 6 months. His white dress shirt, neatly folded. "I've been carrying this around for weeks, trying to find the right moment to return it," she said, but didn't offer it to him. Instead, she held it close. "But I've realized I don't want to give it back." Derek's heart hammered. "Why not?" "Because it smells like your cologne. Because sometimes I wear it when I'm working late and feeling alone. Because it reminds me that there are still genuine people in the world." She finally looked at him, vulnerability naked on her face. "Because I think I'm falling in love with you, Derek Mitchell. And that terrifies me more than any business merger ever has." The world stopped spinning. Derek stared at her, this powerful woman who just handed him her heart like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I'm a single father who fixes toilets for a living," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "You're one of the richest women in the state. This doesn't make sense." "The best things never do." Natasha stepped closer. "I don't care about logic or sense. I care that you make me want to be better. That Emma makes me remember what family could feel like. That when I'm with you, I'm not a CEO or a brand or a company. I'm just Natasha, and that's enough." "It's more than enough," Derek whispered. "It's everything." He kissed her then, soft and careful, aware that Emma was 20 feet away and might turn around at any moment. Natasha's hand came up to cup his face, and he felt her trembling, felt the weight of her walls finally coming down. When they broke apart, Emma was watching them with a satisfied smile. Finally, she called out, "I thought you two would never figure it out." They laughed, tension breaking into joy. Natasha walked over to Emma, knelt down in her expensive dress on the dirty rooftop. "Emma, I need to ask you something important. Is it okay with you if your dad and I date? If I spend more time with both of you?" Emma pretended to think about it, tapping her chin dramatically. "Will you come to my school plays, every single one, and have pizza Fridays with us? I love pizza. And not make my daddy sad." Natasha's eyes glistened. "I promise to try my very best to make him happy instead." Emma threw her arms around Natasha's neck. "Then yes, you can be daddy's girlfriend. But if you're mean to him, I'll be very upset with you." "Deal," Natasha agreed, laughing through tears. 6 months later, the proposal happened on a random Tuesday, in Derek's workshop behind the house. He was teaching Natasha how to fix a leaky faucet, and she was terrible at it, getting more water on herself than in the pipe. They were laughing, covered in grime, and completely happy, when Derek realized he couldn't imagine another day without her. "Marry me," he said. No preamble, No grand gesture. Natasha dropped the wrench. What? Marry me. You and me and Emma. Be our family officially. Wake up in my shirts for the rest of your life. Let me love you even when you're bossy and controlling. Say yes. That's the worst proposal ever, Natasha said. But she was crying and smiling simultaneously. Is that a yes? Yes. You ridiculous man. Yes to all of it. Emma burst through the workshop door right on cue. Did you ask her? Did she say yes? How did you know? Derek asked. I helped him pick out a ring last week, Natasha admitted, pulling a simple diamond band from her pocket. He's terrible at secrets. So are you, Derek countered. You've been carrying that around 4 days. I was waiting for the perfect moment. This is the perfect moment. The wedding theme married 3 months later in Derek's backyard. The same backyard where Emma played, where they'd had countless barbecues and lazy Sundays. 50 guests, simple white chairs, flowers from the local market. Nothing extravagant. Nothing designed to impress. Just family and friends celebrating love that defied logic. Emma stood between them as they exchanged vows, holding both their hands. The bridge that brought them together. I, Derek Mitchell, promise to love you even when you try to run your phone calls during our date nights. I, Natasha Sterling, promise to love you even when you leave your tools all over my house. Our house, Derek corrected gently. Our house, Natasha agreed, voice breaking. The efficient smiled. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. They kissed while Emma cheered and guests applauded, and the sun set golden and perfect behind them. When they broke apart, Natasha was wearing Derek's white dress shirt over her wedding dress, and everyone laughed because, of course, she was new beginning that night. After Emma was asleep and the guests had gone home and the backyard was quiet except for crickets, Derek and Natasha sat on their porch swing. We did it, Natasha said, her head on his shoulder. We actually did it. Had doubts. Every day. Worried you'd realize I'm too broken to fix. Derek kissed her temple. You're not broken. You're strong enough to admit when you need help. That's different. I love you, Derek Mitchell. I love you too, Natasha Mitchell. She lifted her head, eyes shining. I'm keeping Sterling professionally, but I like the sound of that. Yeah, Mrs. Mitchell, Emma's mom, your wife, all the titles that matter. Above them, stars appeared one by one, mapping constellations of hope and second chances, and love that grew from a moment of kindness in a storm. The porch swing creaked gently, a rhythm of contentment, and somewhere in the house their daughter dreamed peacefully, safe in the knowledge that her family was complete. Tomorrow they would tackle the challenges of blending lives, navigating schedules, balancing her corporate world with his blue-collar values. But tonight, they simply existed in the space they'd created together, where wealth was measured in moments like these, where home was wherever they were together. The storm that brought them together had long since passed, but its gift remained to people who learned that sometimes the best love stories begin with the simplest act of human kindness, a reminder that helping someone in their darkest moment might just save two lives instead of one. And in that truth, in that perfect Tuesday evening wrapped in each other's arms, they found everything they'd been searching for without even knowing they were looking. The end was really just the beginning, and they were finally, beautifully, home.